What you're going to see next is true. You can decide if you believe in religious things or not, but the story you're about to hear is real. I really want to emphasize that the strange and spooky parts of the story are a whole different thing. This happened in Mexico back in 2012, and even now, it's just too hard to believe and sometimes really tough for anyone, especially those with kids, to handle when they hear about it. Back then, something really strange happened, and all the news around the world talked about it, especially the exciting newspapers. In Mexico, let's go through what happened. There was a weird event involving 6 people from one family who were doing a strange ritual. The mom, who was like the leader, was holding her 5-year-old son. Then she asked everyone there to shut their eyes. And while everyone's eyes were closed, the mom, using her own hands, took out her own son's eyes. The case became really famous, and many people got in trouble for being involved in a terrible thing that permanently took away the happiness from the life of a harmless creature. The police found it really difficult to figure out why a mom would hurt her own child so badly. It was tough because she, her family, and the other people in their group wouldn't talk about it or explain what happened. Getting information was impossible. So, when this special ceremony happened in 2012, it might not have been just a random thing. Back then, lots of folks thought the world might come to an end because of the famous Mayan calendar finishing up. People kind of forgot about it, but it could be linked to why this ritual took place in that particular year. Later on, after spending a long time in jail, the mom of the person who got hurt, Maria Carmen Garcia, who was both a priestess and a witch, and the one who used her fingers to take out her own son's eyes, finally told why she did it. She shared her reasons in a letter signed by her, and it got published in some not-so-great Mexican magazines that talk about predictions, tarot, magic, and witchcraft. These magazines aren't always watched closely by the authorities and are sold in certain parts of Mexico. In the magazines, they printed a letter and some pictures from Maria Carmen Garcia. In that letter, the lady said while she was in jail that she had to take out her son's eyes to keep him alive. In the letter, she wrote that she and her friends were trying to bring a demon named AGARES into our world. So, it's important to look into this demon named AGARES, and if you check Wikipedia, it describes him like this. There's this character in creepy tales called AGARES who's like a big shot in the demon world. He's supposedly in charge of 31 groups of demons. Once upon a time, he used to be one of the good angels, but then he switched sides and went rogue. AGARES is known for doing some strange and powerful things. He can make people who ran away come back, shake the ground like in an earthquake, and even teach different languages. People have been talking about AGARES since way back in the Old Testament times. They believe that if you ask him for help, he might do you a favor, but there's a catch: he likes scaring people. It's like this: AGARES apparently enjoys making people afraid. It's said that he's attracted to the smell of fear, kind of like how a mean dog can sense when you're scared. So, if you decide to summon AGARES, be ready for some serious spookiness. He shows up looking all terrifying, and just staring at him can make you feel the absolute worst fear ever. So, if you're thinking about dealing with AGARES, brace yourself for some real creepy stuff. Witches, shamans, and experts speak of an absolutely revolting form in which AGARES often appears, seeking to terrorize. Maria del Carmen, the priestess, wrote that her family was going through really tough times with money. So, they all decided to ask for help from a specific supernatural being named AGARES. Even though life was hard, they believed AGARES could help them out if they called upon him. So, Maria del Carmen gathered her 6 family members who were all part of a group that practiced mysterious things. They went to the basement for some privacy. Even though they knew a lot about mysterious stuff and worshipped the dark side, Maria del Carmen reminded everyone to close their eyes tight during the ceremony. They were experts in things like Satanism, but this time they were dealing with AGARES. They had to keep their eyes shut no matter what, especially when they heard the sound that meant AGARES was about to show up. Maria del Carmen told them not to open their eyes, not even if AGARES himself asked them to. The plan was to endure the scary situation for a short while. Maria del Carmen would ask AGARES for good luck and wealth during the ritual, and he would make it happen before leaving just like he came. According to Maria del Carmen Garcia, the plan for that day was to have children at a ceremony. The idea was that kids' fear acts like a special lure for AGARES, a mysterious being. In 2014, Maria del Carmen had 3 children there, including her son Fernando. In a letter, she shared that everything happened just as they intended. The other 2 kids were supposed to attract AGARES with their cries, but their parents shielded them by covering their eyes. In Maria del Carmen's case, she had to let go of her son Fernando to toss a list of wishes into a fire while AGARES was around. She told Fernando to keep his eyes shut, and she did the same in the darkness. Even though she couldn't see, she heard Fernando crying out, saying, "Mom, it's like a cockroach, Mom, it bites me." Maria del Carmen said that a bad spirit, AGARES, really liked her son Fernando. She thought the only way to stop the magic was to make sure Fernando didn't look at the demon. So she decided to cover his eyes by force. In her letter, Maria del Carmen explained, "I had to use my fingers to cover Fernando's eyes because there was no other option." That's why she, who is like a witch or priestess, had to take out the eyes of her 5-year-old son, Fernando. It's your decision, the people watching, to decide whether or not to believe this woman's explanation. Did a 5-year-old really lose his eyes because of his family's foolish beliefs and superstitions, or is there more to the story? What makes this case intriguing is that the Garcia family continues to support Maria del Carmen even though she's in jail. Was it just a case of everyone getting caught up in a moment of fear during the ritual? Or do we need to consider the unsettling possibility that what this woman said might actually be true? Can we justify her horrifying act of using her own hands to take out her son's eyes? You get to be the judge here. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe.